$5 trillion of taxpayer cash have gone to defense programs, none of which has been audited. And this black budget has sparked concerns over political fraud, as Ganesh Chakan now reports.
The Pentagon is almost certainly the biggest source of waste in the U.S. government. A Reuters investigation says since 1996, the Pentagon has spent $8.5 trillion in taxpayer money that has never been accounted for. And nobody can say for sure how many billions of that amount were wasted on goods and services that were never delivered, on overpayments to contractors and many other things. What does Congress do about it? Nothing. And national security expert Steve Miles is here with me to help us crunch these numbers. $8.5 trillion unaccounted for?
It's a lot of money. This is the kind of thing that you would think would bring Capitol Hill to a screeching halt. There'd be hearings kind of almost daily. You'd have various committees looking into it. None of that. It just leads to massive waste, and there can be all sorts of fraud that you don't know about. Just one example, when the Inspector General looked at Iraq, which was a lot of money, but in the grand scheme, just a portion of the money the U.S. spends. What they found was about $50 billion of the money the U.S. spent there was wasted. And about $6 billion was completely lost. They had no idea where it went. It was completely unaccounted for. But put that in perspective, that's about this amount of money that other countries would spend on their defense in a year total. And that's just the loose pocket change that we lost in the couch.
One thing I found very interesting in this report is that the Pentagon apparently uses a standard operating procedure to enter false numbers or so-called plugs to cover lost or missing information in their accounting in order to submit a balanced budget to the Treasury. So they can write in everything.
I mean, that's probably the most shocking part of this, is that they get to the end of the day and they say, oh, there's money missing. What do we do? Well, we'll just put a number in there that says it's there, and we'll sort it out later. I mean, again, this is the type of operating practice that if you did it in your own business, if you tried to do it with your own taxes for the government, they'd haul you off to jail.
What contributes to the massive waste is the fact that for 2 decades, the Pentagon has dodged an audit, which means nobody checked if the numbers in their accounting made any sense. Congress has just passed a budget that allocates around $630 billion to the Pentagon, roughly the same amount as last year. How much of that will be wasted? Taxpayers will never know. In Washington, I'm Ganesh Chakan, RT.
Washington needs to wake up and start cracking down on unaccountable overspending at the Pentagon. That's the view of retired U.S. Army Colonel Douglas Macgregor.
I have actually been in this position when I was the Director of Joint Operations at SHAPE headquarters. For reasons that I didn't understand, my pay was suddenly reduced, and it took a year to ultimately straighten it out, and then subsequently I was paid money that I had actually earned, but for reasons that no one could explain had not been paid to me. My point is that you're dealing with millions of people and a lot of instability, a lot of movement, and it's a difficult system to work effectively. This is an enormous problem, and this is something that absolutely must be addressed, and addressed in a forthright manner. At the moment, no one on Capitol Hill seems terribly concerned.
And U.S. intelligence expert Gordon Duff says lawmakers have become increasingly corrupted by their ties to the military industry.
We have so many defense entities that have gained so much power in Washington over the past 10 years. Certainly I consider it the phony war on terror has been an opportunity for the defense industry to buy Congress. The Pentagon works much like the Federal Reserve. We have overt and covert policies. We have so many black budget projects, including nuclear weapons development projects that went dark as early as 1991. We have heard of none of the advances we know that were achieved during the Strategic Defense Initiative in the 80s and 90s. Those have all gone dark, but they're continuing to eat funds, and we're watching much of the military budget used for sustaining a top-heavy military, an Air Force where every third person is a general,